Hardeep is your love. I say. What do you call a podcast that's about food and love? And then you say,
Deep is your love.
No. What? No, don't stop recording.
No.
Don't stop recording just because you fucked up. Dimples to die for. A sense of comedy that really needs improving. So it does though. Because look, I say. What do you call a podcast about food and love? And you say, I don't know. What do you call
a podcast?
Right, should we try to do that properly now? Okay. Should never have let him have a glass of fucking wine. Right, here we go. I say. What do you call a podcast about food and love?
I don't know, Hardeep. What do you call a podcast about food and love?
Hardeep is your love.
Oh.
Fucking idiot. Hello, lovelies. Beloved listener. Lovely podcasty. Should I make that word up? Podcasty. Person that accepts a podcast. Podcasty. Done. Okay. If you're listening from OED, get it in for next year. Hope you had a good week. I have had an excellent week. Can you hear that? Do you know what that is? Seagulls. Because I'm in the town of Glasgow. I haven't been here. I was on holiday. I was in lovely Ayrshire. Where was I? Ayrshire. Burns country. Beautiful. Great produce. There used to be a lot more pig farms down there. Actually, I was thinking about that because we did the podcast on Portbelly. And I was just thinking about how they used to be. I mean, but it's just... I worry about farming now, because of Brexit. It was difficult enough farming before that happened. Anyway, that's not why we're here today. Do you know what we're here today to talk about? Do you know?
I do this week.
Do you? Well done. Top of the class. Black pepper. Now, you're probably thinking, gosh, that's curious. How are you going to get anything between 20 and 35 minutes on black pepper? But it's fascinating and integral to the story of not just Punjabi food, all Indian food. Now, let me explain why. Nathan, when you go to an Indian restaurant you don't normally frequent, and you're looking for a dish, do you like it like mild, medium, or hot? Do you have a preference? Medium. So how do you know, on a menu in a place you've never eaten before, how hot the curries are? Is there some sort of visual symbol they give you?
Often it's 3 or 2 chilies.
Chilies? Yeah. Isn't that funny? And those chilies denote to you the pokiness, if you will, of the dish. Do you know what's so funny about that? Is that chilies were not indigenous to India. So this whole system we have of denoting heat and spice actually was brought to India by the Portuguese and the British through empire, because they're South American. Yeah, Chile is South American. So prior to the kind of colonization of India, the spicing occurred with black pepper. Now, difficult though that is to believe, that's the way it works. So that's why for me, so if you've ever been to any of my pop-ups, or if you've ever been to my restaurant, you'll notice that the final garnish on pretty much every dish is a dusting of black pepper by way of homage to the origins of that food. If you've ever had a black pepper lamb, black pepper chicken, those are the dishes. There's also I do a black pepper paneer. Now, what's interesting about that paneer, and obviously there's going to be a podcast on paneer. How can you do a podcast on food, any food, and not have paneer, the most delicious and the blandest of cheeses, yet delicious at the same time? The paneer, so in the Punjab, you have a kulla paneer, which is an open paneer. So, you know what paneer comes in those kind of like cubes, that in the time of insurrection and revolution can be used as rubber bullets. Because think about it, you could really fell some baddies with paneer projecting at 70 miles an hour. That's a pressed paneer. Before it's like that, it's like nuggets, little kind of nuggets, like mince almost. That with a black pepper masala is sublime. Because you know that kind of the soft comfort of paneer, and that kind of wide milkiness. There's a kind of wide milky flavour to it. The sharpness of that black pepper, just cutting it with a really strong tomato and a white onion. I always use white onions paneer. I just think it works better than the red onions. Lovely. So if you see any restaurant menus with a black pepper this, black pepper that on it, eat. Because generally, you don't have those on your menu if you don't know what you're doing. So it's as good a recommendation as you can have. So, the way I use black pepper is across the board. All my desserts have black pepper in them. It's the weirdest thing. But again, we were down at the Hop Yard, and I am not strong. For those of you that watched Celebrity MasterChef and have followed my work, I will write about puddings. But when I write about pudding, I spend a lot of time researching it. It doesn't come naturally from me. Now, why is that? That is because in the Indian subcontinent, we don't have a pudding tradition. Now, I can hear the voices raised around the nation. What-o, young man? I am very familiar with rasgulla, with gulab jamun, with jalebi, with barfi and all these things, of course. But they're not served as puddings. They're served as sort of sweetmeats through the day. Now think about this for a minute. I mean, of course, brown people love incredibly sweet things. That's why there are so many brown dentists. See? Cause and effect. But we don't have the tradition of following. We don't have a kind of starter main course pudding tradition. But I like to use black pepper because I think it's such a strong indicator of provenance, if you will, kind of conceptual provenance. So we were in Hop Yard, the lovely Hop Yard, and Kathleen said, my right-hand woman, you must know by now, in the words of Barry White, my first, my last, my everything, my best mate. So she said we should do a pudding, and I'm like, Kathleen, you know how I am with puddings. And she said, well, can you think of something? And I said, well, we could do an Eastern mess, the play on the word Eton, being Eastern, replace kind of the raspberries or the strawberries or the berry fruit with mango, so freshly chopped mango. And I use the African mango ironically because it's firmer, and I've had a lot of mangoes in my life, as you can imagine. Like going on holiday to India, see here growing up, you'd have one mango and you'd watch it to make sure it didn't go off before you ate it, right? Because that's all we could afford when we were wee. And even now I can buy one or two mangoes, but I'm very wary of them going off because like it's a big amount of money not to eat it at the end. But in India, you'd go, and at the end of dinner, the servants would bring, and then we had servants, and we didn't have servants. We had servants. Everyone has servants in India. Even the servants have servants. That's the truth. They'd bring buckets of mangoes, and put 4 or 5 buckets of mangoes, iced water, and you would just pick one up as you're chatting, as we are now. Just lean down, pick one up, bite the top off, and suck that kind of perfume, golden, fibrous sweetness. But I had a lot of mangoes, and I find the Indian and Pakistani mangoes too sweet, too perfumed, and they can dominate a flavour. In fact, in quite a lot of the yogurts you get here, they use the Indian mangoes, and it works well in yogurt. There's also a pudding from the south called Srikanth, where they often flavour it with mango. That works, but per se, no, I don't. But the African I love. They're a bit yellower as well, and less orange, and I find the yellow works better against the kind of the white of the double cream and the smashed meringue. And then you have the sort of passion fruit, scattered the seeds, those lovely bitter sweet seeds, and then black pepper just on top because I've mixed some icing sugar through the double cream. And so what you get there is you get just this beautiful perplexity of flavour that changes with every mouthful because the proportions change. The amount of black pepper you get as you get close to the end is less black pepper because of course you scattered on top. That was a big success. I also like black pepper and strawberries with balsamic vinegar in a sandwich. Have you ever had it in a sandwich? See, people do that. People do exactly what Nathan did there. It was kind of, are you mental, big man? I'm not. So what is jam? Strawberries and sugar. So I'm saying sugar, strawberries, basil, black pepper. But it's got to be thick white bread, not shop-bought white bread. It's got to be the sort of bread you get from Mrs. Meggins or do you know what I mean, or Mrs. Khan's white bread. Thick cut, sourdough's good too, you know. And again, just toss the hulled strawberries. You have to hull them Do you know what hulling is? Do people know what hulling is? You take that top bit out. Don't just half them. Take that top bit out because that catches and it doesn't. It's not a nice flavour. It can really, depending on the kind of the batch of strawberries you've got, it can really profoundly affect the flavour of the entire batch if you don't hull them, because you're eating what can be like 10% bitterness, and we all know there's no need for that. So I like black pepper. I also like black pepper in my cocktails. I do a black pepper martini. I know. You're looking at me. I don't know those eyes. Are those? Ooh, make me one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah? We'll do that tonight. You just boil up black peppercorns with water and sugar. So you do a stock syrup, 1-to-1 syrup, but with so many black peppercorns in it. Now here's the thing I'll tell you, okay? And this is true. I believe this as I believe in love. Just listen to the rhythm of my heart. I believe in a thing called love. Yeah, Startness. They got that. You didn't. They got that. You didn't get it, Nathan. Fucking. When you're making a syrup, and also we'll be talking about cocktails a lot when we do the cardamom podcast. When you make a stock syrup, or indeed anything, it's always easier, with the one exception of salt. Don't over salt things, but with everything else, be bold. Because if you put too many chilies in, you can actually then add tomato puree, tomato paste, and you can let it down again and find your happy place with it. If you make a sugar syrup that's too peppery, we just add a bit more water, a bit more sugar. Better to have too peppery than not peppery enough. Because there's nothing I find more irritating than a flavour you cannot gain traction with. Why is it there? You know, if it's just a hint of a suggestion of a shadow of a flavour, it shouldn't be there. Because that's going to annoy you all night long. It's like a song lyric. You know, you can never quite put your finger on, you know. And I think it's really important that we teach things like this to the next generation, because, you know, like those annoying song lyrics you can't place. I believe when it comes to cooking, like with many things in life, I believe the children are our future, you know. And I think if we teach them well, we can let them lead the way. So, black pepper martini, also a black pepper Moscow Mule, because black pepper and lime to me is a lovely combination. There is that kind of flavourlessness of vodka that lets you get away with it. Weirdly, it doesn't work so well with gin, because the intrinsic balance of the botanicals is very easily upset. Although weirdly, it works really well with a bad gin, if that makes sense to you. So like I'm not going to name a brand, because they might want to advertise with us. But, you know, kind of like a cheapest chips gin can deal with its kind of internal mechanism being messed with. Bacardi, weirdly, kind of like a white rum, does sort of work. Spiced rum won't work because there's already spice going on there. So there's a company up in Glasgow called Hidden Lane Brewery. Friends of mine, before lockdown, we were going to start brewing beers together, and I was working on a couple of ideas. That was like a mango IPA. There are a few mango IPAs out in the market, really good ones, like a Disco Forklift and by my dear friends, the William Brothers. But I was also thinking about a black pepper porter, which we'll talk about, because I effectively create a black pepper porter when I do my braised beef dishes. So, for example, when I do my beef suet pudding, I have black pepper, peppercorns, and pepper. Remember, when we spoke about, what was it we were talking about? About cumin in chickpeas a while back. Remember, there's a difference between peppercorns and black pepper, right? If you can kind of mortar and pestle your own black pepper, nothing like it. Gives you ultimate control. Now, some people say, "Oh, use a spice grinder." I have used a spice grinder, which, interesting, is what they call a gay dating app in India. Do you like that, Nathan? Spice grinder. Because grinder, yeah, no? He's laughing. Can you hear him? He's coughing. He's laughing. He's coughing. He's trying to cover his face. He's so embarrassed. Sweetheart. Back to the dimples. So, but I like the non-uniformity of a mortar and pestle. But also you can, if you then choose just to go further. You know, it can I wish you could see what I just saw. Little Nathan miming a mortar and pestle. I don't know what it is. So I always finish my black pepper cocktails with a dusting of black pepper. Also, when you do pilau rice, so my mum, like, here's the thing, right? The older I get, and I'm 52. The more I hang out with my mum, the more I love her, and the more I respect her, and the more I just think, why did you put up with all my nonsense all those years? But she did, bless her, wonderful woman. I don't know where she gained all this knowledge. See, here's the thing. That's why I believe firmly. Listen, that's why we run the Curry Academy here. That's why we do the Curry Beginners class here. That's why we do the cook-alongs. It's because I believe you can learn. Yeah? If you have an interest, you can learn. If you don't have an interest in something, you'll never learn about it. That's when I was working when I was living and working in Hackney in East London. One of the things I noticed was that a lot of those hard-to-reach kids, they get written off by the system. It's our job as the older generation to find a way in, right? And I went to this class once, this cookery school at Hackney College, amazing. And yeah, there were children shouting, right? And interacting with each other during the class. But do you know what they were shouting about? Sir, can you repeat that bit again, please? I missed it, because they had to get it down. They were conferring because they wanted to make sure they had the right amounts of things. Yeah? You will teach a kid that hasn't landed the idea of counting. You'll teach them to count if you teach them to bake. If you teach them to cook. They will learn to write and read if they need to follow recipes. Because that passion burning up inside them is what keeps them awake every night. In many ways, it's what keeps me awake every night, although mine's more heartburn these days. So, it's really important that you want to learn things and that you keep learning things. But what I've noticed in my mum is there's just some of it is just given. Some of it just resides within you, in your potato soul. It's just there. And so she used to make... Now, listen, I'm not going to do this whole thing. I've never done this whole thing about, we had no money growing up. We didn't, but I can't tell you what I missed. I had a great time. I had a tracksuit to a football team. It wasn't a football team I supported, but it was on sale, and I got a Liverpool tracksuit. I never went without anything. We got to go to India every few years when we were wee. We went to Arran, we went to Millport. We had a great upbringing. I missed and wanted for nothing. But my mum, she would do this thing where, because rice was cheap, she would make a really lovely pilau rice, and it'd be so flavourful that we didn't really notice that there wasn't that much chicken in it. And you'd have it with like the potatoes left over from the chicken curry from the night before. And the main ingredient, I always remember having a crack down on a black pepper corn and just exploding flavour in my mouth and not being pleasant when I was wee, because we make a lot of mistakes when we're younger. So, for example, when you're wee, in your teenage years, you don't like cabbage. Well, you don't like cabbage, not necessarily because you don't like cabbage, but hey, some people just don't like cabbage. You don't like cabbage because your palate is developing. It's tasting so many things, right? And also because we don't cook cabbage very well in the UK, which is why we're doing a whole podcast on cabbages later. A podcast on cabbages is what I like to call them, not a podcast. I do podcasts. So back to black pepper. The recipe this week. So just for those new to the family, this podcast talks about a recipe which we then on Friday we do in the cook along. So if you're interested in doing this, and this is the first time we're actually doing a vegetarian and a meat split. So it's the same recipe, one for vegetarians and one for meat. It's lamb chops, black pepper Garam Masala Lamb Chops, our black pepper Garam Masala Paneer. So this we'll be doing with shop bought paneer. And when we do the paneer recipe and podcast later in the run, we'll come back and do that in a special kind of paneer section for you. So this is very simple. This is about time more than anything else. If you can make your own paneer, please make your own paneer. And this masala just works a treat. I nearly said fucking treat, but it's fucking delicious. I made these chops actually a few weeks ago, and I was with my old friend Steph in Winchester, and her husband Gerald, lovely Gerald, gentleman Gerald, beautiful man, did them on the barbecue. And what you've got here is you've got that black pepper heat and that tingle. Not a tingle like Szechuan peppercorns, but a different sort of tingle. And garam masala and salt. That's it. Olive oil. So you just marinate your paneer. If it's the set paneer, the firm paneer, then you just chop it into cubes. You marinate it. Now bear in mind, there's only so much paneer is going to let in. It's impermeable in one way. But marinate anyway. Don't use olive oil. Just use like a rapeseed oil is amazing for this. I mean, you should always have rapeseed oil in the house. Or a bland, non-flavoured oil. Coat your lamb chops in that. Poke them with a fork. Just get their pores going. Now, we did this with the Barnsley chop. And much as I love a Barnsley chop, I don't think it's the best chop for this. I think you want something further up. So your Barnsley chop's at the bottom of the spine. You want further up, so it's your kind of fully formed chop. This will also work. This works well with, I think, meat on the bone. I think if you're going for a boneless, they're better. I wouldn't, because boneless lamb costs a lot more. There are other ways of doing it. This is a great recipe for that cut of meat. This also works really well with pork ribs, by the way, and chicken thighs. It works great with most things, but so the black pepper, lots of black pepper. Now, when I say lots, if we're imagining 1.5 kilos of chops, I'm talking 3 tablespoons of black pepper. You want to taste it. A couple of tablespoons of garam masala. Probably about 2 teaspoons of rock salt. Mix them all together. Give them a wee grind in the mortar and pestle. And you're thinking, well, why? They're already ground. Well, in re-grinding them together, you actually start the cross-pollination of flavours. You create a 4th, a 5th, and a 6th, all the way up to a 9th flavour. It's weird, because 3 times 3 squared is the number of flavours you're getting out of those, if you understand what I'm saying. Pairing and tripling and the single flavours. And then really rub it in. Really rub it into your lamb chops, yeah? Cling them, cover them, nice. So bear in mind, you've got your oil on there first, so it's something to adhere to. Don't make the mistake I've often made, which was put the spice on and then add the oil. Oh, just wash the fucking spices off, doesn't it? Certainly with the paneer. With the paneer, what I would do is I'd keep it moving, for longer than you think you need to. Because like I say, it's not going to permeate the paneer in the same way, but the salt will draw some of the liquid out of the paneer and create a little kind of mini sauce thing going on there. That doesn't work quite so well. I tell you what would be great on the grill: halloumi. Smashing it out of the park. So then, yeah, you can grill, you can barbecue grill your lamb chops. If you're going to do it with your paneer, I like to put a bit of foil down first, just because they can quite easily fall through the bars, and nobody wants to fall through the bars, all the cracks in the pavement. Serve that with. What did I do? Oh gosh, yes, I did. Oh, how do you feel about rhubarb? I did a chili rhubarb jam. So just sugar, rhubarb, chili, salt, lots of black pepper. That's what it's about this week, ladies and gentlemen. Cooked down and just you've got to get the sugar right. People hold back on the sugar. Sugar is an ingredient. Use it. Yeah? Cut it out of your life in other places. Cut out the invisible sugar in your diets, right? Like the invisible salt. See, here's the thing that breaks my heart, right? We'd also, obviously, we've done black pepper. We'll do salt in the next few months as well. I watch people don't season their food when they cook, and then they season it at the table. Now, this is simple maths, right? This isn't rocket surgery, right? If there's no salt in your food and you're seasoning the top of it, you use more salt. So you're actually doing yourself a disservice. So that's black pepper. How do we feel about black pepper this month? Do we feel good about it? Oh, how can I? Most remiss of me. I was gonna go without giving you like one of my favourite things in the world. So, you know what a paratha is, right? A paratha, as you lovely white people say it. I mean, you're colonisers, but you couldn't pick up the language. So it's a flaky fried bread. Now, my mum, loon mirch is salt pepper in Punjabi. Loon mirch paratha with butter and a tablespoon of yogurt. A little bit of pickle if you want, or just on its own. What a showcase for the flavour of pepper. See, salt and pepper are clubbed together. And much as I understand why they're clubbed together, they're completely different. Salt, you need salt to taste things. Without salt, you can't, and salt draws water out, it does this, it raises the boiling temperature or lowers them, it does all these amazing chemical things. Pepper is the dark horse, the African American horse of the family, It does what it does in ways that will begin to surprise you. Now, I leave you with this final bit of advice, because food is, love is,
Food.
right, that's right. Well done. If you're going to have a go with black pepper, if you're someone that hasn't cooked with black pepper very much, do me one favour, right? And I mean what I'm about to say to you. This is most sincere. If you're going to go with that black pepper, go bold. Use a lot. Use too much. There's a really strong chance you're going to mess up. If you do, send me the pictures and we'll send you a little something, right? We'll make it up to you. Because I want to encourage your ability to take risks. Why should cooking be any different from any other aspect of life? From the arts, from business, from war, from politics? Fortune favours the brave. Be brave. Take a risk. It's only a meal. And like I say, if it's really rank and horrible and disgusting, we'll sort you out with a free month something this or an apron or something, right? We will be there for you. I'm not going to ditch you because I love you. Because food is? Love is?
Good.
Nice one. Have a lovely week. See you for the cook along. Remember, you can catch other amazing black pepper things, the cocktails, the other bits and pieces, the plough, the black pepper plough, the paratha. We're going to be doing that on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Patreon. And I'll see you for the cook along on Friday. Have a lovely week. Beautiful people.